Hi there, and welcome on to this video series on Session Guitarist Acoustic Sunburst Deluxe. My name is Larry Holcomb, aka Get to Know, and I'm here with Groove 3 to deliver this video series. Now, let's talk a little bit about what this plugin is all about. So it's a kind of pattern-based guitar library, very big library, about 27 gigabytes. So, very detailed recording, lots of multi-samples, and it's designed to allow you to create really nice, authentic sounding melodies, picking, and also strumming patterns. So if you're a producer and you want to integrate acoustic guitar into your productions, but you can't play the guitar and you don't have access to a great guitarist, this can be your go-to for getting some really authentic acoustic guitar parts into your music. Now, the samples were recorded using a Gibson custom 1957 SJ200 steel string guitar, and it sounds fantastic, as we're going to hear. And the entire sample library, all the content was recorded using 3 individual stereo microphone setups. And you can select between these 3 different setups. Those setups were a condenser AB mic setup using a vintage Neumann KM84 and a Rode K2. That was going through a vintage UA 610 preamp. Then there was a dynamic mid-side mic setup using a vintage Sennheiser MD41 and a hand-picked vintage Geffel UM70 large diaphragm condenser. And that was recorded through a Neve 1272 preamp and saturated a little bit as well. And then there was a ribbon AB mic setup employing 2 AEA R84s. That's going to give a really nice, rich and warm sound. So the plugin contains a total of 254 different patterns, and they cover loads of different musical styles and playing styles as well. There's also single notes and many articulations to create melodies. There's round robin variants. So that's when the sample changes when you play the same note, so it doesn't sound too robotic. And there's obviously lots of different velocity layers in multiple positions all over the guitar. And you can play with both pick and finger. And they were played by 4 different professional guitarists. Now we can use the chord progressions that come with the plugin and drag them into DAW as well. And actually the patterns are grouped into song presets, each containing 4 to 8 patterns with a matching sound preset. So you can actually use this to build the foundations for a track as well. So if you're a singer, for example, and you can't play the guitar, this could be a great way of getting a fantastic sounding backing track to work with. Now, there's loads of things we can do with key switches as well. You can see the keyboard visible down here with some different colored notes telling us that we can do different things with playing back patterns and adding kind of ending phrases and changing articulations and things like that. So loads of power down here as well. We also have a really nice effects chain that we can add as well. So things like EQ and reverbs and tape emulations and things like that. Okay, so that's just really a background of the instrument, so you know what it's capable of and what it's designed to achieve. So let's have a look at an overview of using the instrument. Now, there's 2 different versions of this instrument. There's Acoustic Sunburst Deluxe, which is the pattern instrument, and that's designed to play back patterns easily. Then there's the melody instrument, which is Acoustic Sunburst Deluxe brackets melody, and that allows you to play back your own melodies and combine them with the included patterns. So a little bit more flexibility. Now, the whole plugin is designed to be used with the MIDI keyboard, as we discussed, and we can quickly change patterns by using MIDI key switches. The plugin is also going to synchronize to the project tempo, and it can be played anywhere from 60 to 160 beats per minute, whilst preserving incredible sound quality. Now, I mentioned about the key switching down here and the ability to play this instrument using the MIDI keyboard. Well, if we click on this little keyboard icon here, this will show you the different key switches that we can use for any of the presets that we have loaded up. So you can see here, it's telling us that this section down here from C1 upwards. So you can see here, it's telling us that we have these red notes here. So up to G here allows us to change different patterns. And then we have the purple section here, which is going to allow us to trigger endings, and then slide is the green. And that corresponds to this section down here. And then from C2 upwards, we can actually play back the patterns starting on a different note. So let's just have a look at that. So if you look at my MIDI monitor up here, so we're playing C1, play C2, you can see we can change patterns. And then by playing C2, I can actually play back that pattern. Let's change it. So they're quite similar, but just variations on a theme. And I could change the note. Try one of the endings. There you go. You see, so I played A and it triggered that ending. Let's try a slide now. You can hear there. So we can trigger an atonal slide by playing that B there. So as I said, melodies and chords are going to be played back in this blue range here on the MIDI keyboard. So that's C2 up to G sharp 5. Okay, so just to finish off in this video, I just want to talk about the interface of the plugin as well. So we're going to have a look at some different areas. The first one is the pattern inspector. Now, the pattern inspector allows us to access parameters that are going to modify things like length, start position, volume, and tempo of a pattern. And we can do that by clicking on the wrench icon here. This is going to bring up this pattern inspector here. We're going to obviously talk about this later. That's just where you can go in and edit the pattern. Now, the next area I want to address is the song browser. So we can access this by clicking on the name of the song here. This is the song name, in this case, Sweet Memories. This is going to bring up our song browser. So the song is a preset basically that contains related patterns with a factory sound preset. So it's got a kind of unified sound across the patterns, as well as some of the settings within the playback page we're going to look at. So this is where you can go through and, try out different vibes. You can see we've got genres up here as well. Now, as well as the pattern inspector, we know we can access using the wrench here. We also have the pattern browser, which we can access by clicking on that little magnifying glass there. This is where we can actually go in and change a slot's pattern. So say you had a song and everything was perfect, but you just needed, some kind of pattern that wasn't available within that song. You could go in and choose one from here. And we also have access to that pattern inspector there as well. So that's the pattern browser. Now, so far we've only been on the patterns tab here. If we move one to the right, we get to the guitar settings. This allows us to adjust the sound of the actual instrument itself. So you can see we can change the microphone configuration, stereo width, intonation, things like that. Now we move one to the right, we have amps and effects. Now the guitar settings is the kind of core sound. The amps and effects allows us to run that sound through effects or effects chains, and you can see that there. Now finally, we have this playback tab. Now this is going to affect the way that the patterns are going to play back. So things like, humanization, swing, feel, timing, stuff like that. We can double and halve the tempo, etc. So we're going to go through all these parameters anyway, but just so you know, if you're getting started and you just want to dive right in and you wanted to do something like that, that's where it's going to be located. So that's the interface. Patterns is our kind of first page, our main page. We have the song browser here, allowing us to go through and choose different songs. We have the pattern inspector here, so we can edit a pattern. The pattern browser allows us to go through and browse patterns. And then we also had the guitar settings, so we can change the sound of the guitar itself, amps and effects to run it through an effects chain, and playback allows us to change the way the patterns play back. Okay, so now in this first video, we've covered the interface as well. Next up, we're going to have a look at playing melodies using Acoustic Sunburst Deluxe. So I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.